There's no job more arduous and grueling than leader of the free world. Unfortunately, the paychecks aren't particularly impressive. The annual salary of a sitting U.S. president is just $400,000. That pales in comparison to the $13.7 million annual salary of an average Fortune 500 CEO. Once a president leaves office, the money starts rolling in. Former presidents are entitled to an annual pension of $219,000, and most end up signing lucrative book deals worth millions. There have been many incredibly rich presidents throughout history, and some that were almost broke. From the founding fathers to former President Donald Trump, here's a look at some of the richest and poorest presidents throughout history. It took a lot of money and manpower to defeat the British, but America's first president, George Washington, was handsomely rewarded for his efforts. He earned an annual salary of $25,000 during his 2 terms. That may not seem like a lot, but it was actually 2% of the United States yearly budget. Washington didn't need the money because he was wealthy even before he took office. In fact, he didn't want to take a salary at all and only accepted the money at the behest of Congress. Washington's peak net worth was $658 million adjusted for inflation. The vast majority of his wealth was inherited and tied to the value of his real estate holdings. Washington's plantation, Mount Vernon, spanned 8,000 acres and included 5 farms. He also kept a wide variety of luxury goods at his home, including a custom-made chariot, silver utensils, fine china, and expensive clothing. America's 3rd president, Thomas Jefferson, inherited a vast fortune from his father that included 3,000 acres of land near Charlottesville, Virginia. He would go on to buy 2,000 additional acres of land and build a lavish home in Monticello. Jefferson's peak net worth topped $265 million adjusted for inflation, but he wasn't able to hold on to his fortune. Jefferson was deeply in debt when he died, primarily due to his overspending and living beyond his means. His numerous farming failures also added to his financial woes. Jefferson tried growing olives, grapes, and sesame, but he struggled with them all. Following his death, Jefferson's family was forced to sell his home in Monticello to pay off his debts. There were 2 things that Theodore Roosevelt was passionate about: politics and the outdoors. He was particularly fond of cattle ranching, and if it weren't for a disastrous winter that cost Roosevelt 80% of his herd, he might have never become America's 26th president. Before entering politics, Roosevelt lived off a $65,000 inheritance that he received from his father. That's about $1.8 million adjusted for inflation. After a brief stint in politics, Roosevelt used that fortune to start a ranch in the Dakota Territory. In 1883, he spent $14,000 on a herd of cattle and a brand. In the following years, he spent even more money on cattle, first $26,000 and then $39,000. He was enjoying the open range and life at the Chimney Butte Ranch until the winter of 1886, when the bulk of his herd died due to freezing temperatures. The cold snap resulted in Roosevelt losing half of his $80,000 ranch investment. Politics was much more lucrative, as Roosevelt had a peak net worth of $156 million adjusted for inflation. Harry Truman found a lot of success in the White House, but financial success escaped him his entire life. His net worth never topped $500,000 adjusted for inflation, and many consider him to be history's poorest president. Before he took office, he was deeply in debt. However, despite numerous failed businesses, Truman never had to file for bankruptcy. He tried everything from menswear to oil, but all his businesses went under. Luckily, Truman received numerous perks after leaving the White House. He was one of the first presidents to receive a pension. The $25,000 annual payment made a huge difference during his retirement. He was also the first president to receive Medicare and was even on hand to watch President Lyndon B. Johnson sign the Medicare bill. John F. Kennedy had an adjusted for inflation net worth of $11 million when he died, but if he had not been assassinated, he would have likely been much richer. JFK lived a comfortable life before he entered politics, thanks to a sizable trust fund. His father, Joseph Patrick Kennedy Sr., amassed a vast fortune from banking, shipping, and real estate. His fortune continued to grow even during the Great Depression as he sold his stocks and shorted the market before the Wall Street crash of 1929. JFK would have inherited that $1 billion fortune if it weren't for that fateful day in 1963. Because he came from money, JFK donated the entirety of his $100,000 annual presidential salary to charity. Donald Trump is not only the richest president in history, he's also America's first billionaire president. He had a net worth of $2.4 billion at the time of producing this video, but he was much richer before he was elected to office. In 2016, he was worth $3.7 billion. His controversial presidency has resulted in significant financial problems. The value of his real estate empire has dropped 26% since 2016 to $1.7 billion, and he has $590 million in loans due over the next 4 years. Trump reportedly has at least $1 billion in debt, and many banks refuse to do any more business with him. Thanks for watching.